Hey, good afternoon, good morning, good evening, everyone, depending on which time zones you're in. So this is our first meeting, or the second one this year. I think I must have missed the previous one. I actually missed some of the things you guys spoke in the last one, and I have a Google Doc here which isn't filling up with things yet, but somebody wants to recap what happened in the last one, and then we can maybe bring in some points from in there and then have a look at new ones here. Tim, were you present? George, were you there?
I think Tim ran the last call, if Tim wants to summarize.
I did. So we spent most of the time, I think, talking about some of the JCK issues that we've been facing. So I guess we'll be covering testing later in the schedule.
Yeah.
In particular, there were a couple of tests that were either seen to be unstable in the testing that we're doing as part of AdoptOpenJDK, or that the environment was very sensitive and creating different results for the testing. So I guess we'll talk about JCK on the agenda today anyway. And beyond that, I don't think there was a lot of updates in terms of infrastructure or code handling. I'm just trying to cast my mind back to what else was happening there. We kind of touched on some of the incoming infrastructure machine contributions that we know are in the pipeline, and they're not quite ready yet. So again, perhaps we can add that to the agenda for today to talk about the Cloud Cone contributions.
So what is that contributions from
Cloud Cone?
Yeah, so we have a tier 1 Linux Intel provider incoming, but there's a few implications that are kind of holding things up at the moment. So
beyond that, I think there was just some general tidy up of build jobs that was required. I can't remember any other burning issues from the last meeting, but we didn't take detailed minutes. So that's as much as I can remember.
So I do have a pending list, and I'm the delinquent on that list because I have a whole list of things just adding up to my to-do list, and I'm basically barely making it. But it's my fault. I've not organized myself to catch them. But I am going to add that to the general topic, so people can go into it and see if they have done anything, or they can help with anything, or they want to chase me up with anything. I know Shelly has been chasing me up with the JT reg, and I've already got myself into the Git HG script jobs. So I will untie myself and get there. I just noticed actually we have a new attendant on the line. Govindan, is that your first meeting, or have you been here before? Maybe you can give a quick intro to yourself to everybody else who doesn't know you.
Yeah, thanks.
Sure. Could you tell us a little bit about what you do, and just a brief idea so others on the call know who you are?
Yeah, sure. Am I audible?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Yeah, thanks. So I'm here in representing Oracle JCK team here. So this is my third call I'm attending. Actually, the first 2 call was like just some of the issue, whatever Simon and other teammates are facing. So they used to exchange some of the information to us. So I just give back some feedback how we can proceed, kind of. That's all. Quick introduction about me. Also, I want to just give one more highlight here. So previously, I was working with IBM JCK team, so I know many of your names also. Yeah.
Right,
so I was
good.
part of JTC team only.
So you're going to help us with all the JCK issues and make it a happy group.
Yeah, hopefully.
Cool. Thanks for that.
Yeah.
Sorry. Let's get back to our topic. So should we start with the general topic and go one by one? Tim, is that how you want to do it, or?
Yep, that's fine. Yep.
Sure. So the first one is the hot discussion on our channel was the JDK/JDK split. So yes, thanks. I don't remember who brought this up on the channels, but it was someone from your team. I think it was Stu, and then previous to that, someone else. And basically, what's happening is it starting 10 or is it starting 11? We're going to be creating the forest in a different structure, isn't it? It's going to go under the JDK/JDK folder structure, and then all the changes will fall in there. And when they create a new version or a new release, then that's going to be renamed into JDK 10, whatever the version number is, and then JDK/JDK will continue with the commits for the.
That's right. Yeah. So the actual repositories are, pretty much changed from how they were handled before. What's different now is that there's a generic JDK project for the latest development streams, and there's a JDK-updates project that gathers together all of the updates. So in the past, we've had a JDK 7 and a JDK 8 as separate projects, and they continue to exist at OpenJDK. And the JDK would be the tip of the stream. And so what happens now is, as that development stream continues, at some point we're going to the OpenJDK team will stabilize a stream for release. And so at the moment that's the 10 branch. And so at the moment that stays under JDK 10. And once that release is made and it goes into updates, that whole forest moves over to the JDK updates project. So under JDK updates, you'll now see JDK 9U, and at some point in the future, after 10 is released, we'd expect to see JDK 10U get moved into there. So
what is the forest going to be called? JDK 10U. So I have in my Google Doc, I've actually created I put in 3 links for the Mercurial link. So the first one is JDK, it's hg.openjdk.java.net/JDK/JDK10. Now that's the JDK 10 branch.
Yeah, so that's one that's currently stabilizing, ready for the release of JDK 10, which will be in March time. Yep.
Yeah.
And whilst that's stabilizing, the sort of head stream is going to be, it's called JDK, and that will be targeting 11. And at some point, 11 will go into a stabilizing branch, and JDK will then start to move towards 12 and so on. So every 6 months, there'll be a new JDK release. Make sense?
Right.
Once that branch is released, so that'll be March this year for the JDK 10, it then moves to being an update stream, at which point it moves to a new project. So instead of being called JDK 10, it becomes JDK-updates, JDK 10U.
Okay. Right.
Got it? Yeah. So as you're typing it now in the document, I see you. Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
So
those names? Yeah, because for us, at least, for us, those names are extremely important. Like,
correct.
Those are the names we plug into our Jenkins jobs, right? And I've got it wrong. Because what happened is, while we were talking about JDK/JDK the other day, and we updated our scripts, they then probably that week created the JDK/JDK 10, because when I went into that on that day, there wasn't a JDK 10, or maybe I missed it. There wasn't one.
Yeah.
But then when I checked it yesterday, it was there. So now, we have amended the script, so we're going to fix that.
Yeah. So when we're building JDK, that's always the head stream tip, and it'll be targeted to different releases. You won't know at any particular point in time just by looking at that what the next target release is, because it won't be named by the repository. It's only when it gets stabilized that you'll see the name appear in there.
What do we do? What do we do on our end for both the Jenkins job naming and the GitHub repo naming? Do now we are in a situation where we need to have a repo that's not called any version. It's just called plain JDK something. And maybe the job should also be called that, because otherwise we will have a bit of even though that repo is targeting the next version of Java, we can't give it a name.
I agree.
So what do we for that.
And it's valuable to keep testing that, because that's, you know, the place which will have the best feedback value to the developers to say, you know, a bug has been introduced. If we wait until it goes into the stabilizing repository, then obviously, you know, that's quite late in the day, and people wouldn't appreciate. Well, they still appreciate getting bugs there, but it's but yeah, we shouldn't be waiting until that point.
So are you okay with us agreeing that we name the GitHub repo JDK, or
yeah, I think we should match the one in JDK. I don't see any reason why we'd call it anything different.
Right, and then we will still have a JDK 10 and a JDK 11 repo in addition to that when
Correct.
those branches are ready. Right.
Yep.
Okay. Okay.
Yep.
Great. I'll expand on that later on.
Okay. Now, I mean, the other thing to call out on the way you've typed it in the document at the moment is, of course, that 10U doesn't currently exist in the JDK updates.
Sure. Sure.
That will be there at some point in the future. If you look in JDK updates, there is a 9U, but there isn't a 10U yet because 10 hasn't been released. So just everybody's got that clear.
Yeah. In the future. Yeah.
Yep.
So here's the other question. Now, are we also building the updates, or are we making a Jenkins job point to the updates? Because the JDK 9 branch will stop to being updated, right? And the updates branch will continue to be updated. Is that right?
I think you said updates branch twice there. So could you just repeat the statement?
So here's the cycle, right? You have the JDK, then you have the JDK/JDK 10. And then when 10 will become stabilized, it'll become a JDK 10U.
Yep.
Right. So our Jenkins job needs to point from one of our Jenkins job needs to point to JDK 10. And then when that stabilizes, that needs to point to JDK 10U.
Correct.
Right. Because JDK 10, hypothetically, JDK 10 won't be updated anymore, right?
Yes, but if you're following... Yeah, if you're following a particular code stream, it goes from JDK, JDK 10, JDKU. That is the same code stream going through different parts of the life cycle.
Yes. But my question was that, will there be still updates going on to the older branches for the same version? Like once 10U is out, JDK 10U is out, will they update the JDK 10 repo anymore? No. So that means our Jenkins job that actually builds JDK 10, because we'll continue to build JDK 10, right? We'll need to switch from pointing to JDK 10 to JDK 10U. And currently our 9 branch is pointing to JDK 9. It should have been pointing to JDK 9U.
Correct.
Yes.
Right. And in terms of our GitHub repo, are we still continuing to update all of that into the same repo, or are we going to create a new repo called 10U or 9U?
We should probably create a 9U repo.
For posterity
reasons. The only reason I hadn't at the time was Kiri arrived and started talking about creating his own mercurial mirror for us. I haven't heard from Jerry for a while. I'm not sure if anyone has an update.
Yeah, I heard from him privately yesterday with some suggestions. I haven't replied to him yet, and I'll encourage him to make those public. So.
Yeah, okay. Because it's still, I mean, this is partly why I think the job kind of got left. We still are unsure whether, because I know Jerry's very, very against us using Git, and obviously some of us are very pro-Git. And I'm still not entirely sold on why we should go back to using Mercurial, but I'm open to the idea that it's just as fast, which is what he can claim. So it raises an interesting issue of whether we should be trying to make it more complicated, or whether we should just say, yeah, fine, let's mirror it, put all our releases somewhere and have it fast.
So I think that's an infrastructure discussion, which is a valuable discussion to have, but that's different to the code stream wrangling, which I think Mani's talking about. I mean, if we were to start using Mercurial, we'd have to find some place to publicly host a Mercurial server and all the access control that involves. Yeah. Obviously, the advantage of GitHub is we get all that stuff through GitHub. So, wherever we choose to host it, we'll still be following the same sort of life cycle of the code streams. My preference is Git, but that's a different discussion.
Yeah, so here's my other question as well, because I don't know if you fully answered it. So I think I'm clear with this stream thing, which we just talked about, and you can have a look at the Google Docs while I'm updating it, and add in your own updates in there. I think in my head I'm clear how this is going to go, because as far as managing the Git repo, the scripts, and Jenkins jobs, this looks clearer now to me. My other question was, and it's not probably related to streams, is tags. Do we need to make a topic and conversation for that one and have it spoken differently at a different time?
Yeah.
I think
I've just added tags. Yeah. So, and then I mean GitHub tags and Git tags or GitHub tags, or Git tags, yeah, and Mercurial tags. But let's have a different conversation on that. And that's kind of touching with what George said earlier.
Yep.
Sure. So that stream discussion is for me clear, but if you guys want to add some more, then add it to the docs. That'll be great. Or want to speak about it, that's good as well.
Okay, I'll read the doc in detail after the call and just make sure it's all correct.
So the next topic here is declaring production ready builds for OpenJDK 8 hotspot and OpenJ9. Anybody wants to expand on that?
I can expand on it. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Simon here. So at the moment, at the top of the OpenJDK.net page, there is this is work in progress. Don't use these builds for production. I think it's a major milestone, since that's what it said in the bullet title, that we remove that banner and start pushing these for production use. Now, one event we've been waiting for was an alignment of the OpenJDK code with the quarterly updates that Oracle put out for their builds. And that happened as of a couple of weeks ago now, 16th of January, I think. So we need to be thinking in terms of what we need to do to run the tests again. Well, build the things first, run the tests against them, know what level of code we have in it, and then remove the banner. Logically, at least for vanilla OpenJDK, that's pretty logically simple, in that the code is just all in the OpenJDK repository, so we need to build it and test it. But I think at a practical level, we're probably limited on which platforms we can run all the tests on and thereby declare them good. For OpenJ9 with OpenJDK 8, we need to get a corresponding good level of code from OpenJ9, which we're working away at the Eclipse OpenJ9 project. But again, it's logically the same. We identify the build, get it built, and then run all the tests to declare them production ready. Now, that ties in probably with something further down the agenda, which is how we're getting on with the JTK, that being the critical test suite for declaring Java compatibility. So I don't know if we want to wait to come to where we're getting on that, or have a bash at it now. But I'd be interested to get some update on what our machine limitations are, platforms for what we can get, say, is production ready and what we can't, across both OpenJDK and OpenJDK with OpenJ9. And I should add, this is a Java 8 position I'm coming from.
So is the way to tackle this to pick, Linux x86 has been the platform which is most likely to be the smoothest one and the quickest one for us to do, and to create an issue where we identify the correct tags from all the different source repositories that we're using, and make sure that that is a well-identified build in our system that's going through the tests, and we just have one place where we're tracking that release progress. Does that kind of make sense? Then we can add additional platforms as additional GitHub issues as we start to expand on that.
I'll say +1 on that one. My thought trend was similar.
Sounds good to me too. So the answer is we get an issue.
Yeah, I think it's a case of coordination rather than any new technology required, right? We have all the pieces here. We just need to make sure that we all agree, what it is that we're testing and what has been tested, so that once we push it out onto the website, we have a well-defined binary that we point people at and say, this is the one.
Yes. So do we also, well, am I correct in assuming that there will be some platforms that we are not in a position to run all of the tests on at this time?
I suspect that is true, yes. I think we had some issues finding some AIX capacity for running JCKs, for example.
So I guess one way we could approach that is to simply not promote those builds onto the main download page. But if we do want to promote any of those, then we'd need some way of tagging them as being production ready or not.
We've already implemented a nice little verified tick system. So you can individually tag the platform binary as JCK compliant. So I think that was the way we were going to go through it. We basically, a nice little tick would imply that it was JCK compliant, and if it didn't have a tick, then it wasn't necessarily acceptable.
Yeah, you're kind of breaking up there, George. But what I think you said is we wouldn't take down any builds, but we would clearly identify which ones have passed JCK and which ones haven't.
Yes.
Okay, good. That works for me. So is that another issue we need, just to close these off?
Yep.
Okay.
So again, just to be clear, we would build the same level of code on all the platforms, and then we would JCK everything that we were capable of doing. And as they pass the JCK, they acquire the identifier on the download site to say this is JCK compliant.
Yes, good.
Simon, if you didn't mind, if you could just go into the Google Doc and just update the bullet points there. I know you might be creating an issue or updating an issue, but then for posterity, if you have I have recorded some things you've said, like the limitations and your difficulties, but maybe I missed out some things that's important. And if you create an issue to also copy all of that in there, then when we are helping you out, then we can, make sure that we completely understand what you need.
Yes, I'll put something in there. I'm capable of doing two things at once, though, so I'll have to wait till I stop speaking.
Yeah, that's all right. You have access to the Google Doc, right?
Yes.
Perfect. Thanks a lot, Simon. Cool. Somebody mentioned their SAP machine build test. What is that? That must be George.
No, it was me, actually.
Oh, it's you. Okay. Sorry.
So that's all right. So this was a discussion I had with Volker, because I had a chance to meet with him face-to-face. And he pointed out that SAP have got a clone of OpenJDK in GitHub, to which they have made their amendments that they make in SAP, and they're interested also in getting some feedback on that. So I asked if it was in a fit state yet to be built and tested using the AdoptOpenJDK infrastructure, and he said yes, that would be good. So I think it would be a good opportunity for us to kind of demonstrate the breadth of participants in the project, for us to be setting up a new Jenkins job to build the SAP machine code. That is JDK 10 and Linux x86 only at this point. So it should be relatively straightforward for us to build with the infrastructure that we've got in place. And then pushing through the test that we have in AdoptOpenJDK, because my understanding, again, and I haven't studied the code at the SAP machine site, is that they don't publish a significant number of tests with their implementation. So we can, do the build on our machines and put it through the test infrastructure that we have, and be able to make some sort of either a declaration that it's high quality, or be able to feed back to the SAP team about any issues that we saw after we built it. So, it's a nice way to include those guys in the AdoptOpenJDK project.
I think it's a big plus and a good one that they're coming forward with it and trusting and recognizing the abilities and capabilities of our infrastructure. So I think we should encourage them by bringing them in. And I would say in theory that's correct what you're saying, that I think we have the things in place to run their stuff, but there's always small bells and whistles we might need to tweak.
Yeah, so at the moment I think one of the biggest inhibitors is obviously they're at a different repo location, and we need to just ensure that our build scripts, because they use the same configure and make building mechanism, but we just have to make our scripts flexible enough to be able to pull in from the SAP GitHub repository and build it so that the Jenkins job can run as we'd expect it to.
Sure, that'll
So
be a
I've
good
already-
test for our scripts as well.
I've already tried modifying the scripts to pull from their repository, and on my local machine that works okay. And I'm looking at putting a Jenkins job together for it now.
Good man, Stuart. Thank you.
Oh, perfect, Stuart. You're ahead of us.
If you hit any issues, obviously, just get onto Slack, and folks will be around to look at that.
Yeah. Yep. Cheers.
Thank you.
Sure. I mean, if we make it make the amendments such that the semantics of our script stays the same, even though we add new things, then we can prove that our current way of handling builds for disparate platforms and code bases, they are good, because I think there is a good strike between platforms and operating systems and code bases in our scripts, but there's always new things that come in that test us. For example, there is a pending free type library issue, which I think Munir is working on with Shelly on that, and I'm still trying to find time to fix that. So things like that can happen. Cool.
Okay. Sorry, just to finish the story there, Mani.
Yeah.
So obviously, once that is built and tested, I would expect to see that as a new variant on the website for download, right? Is that when people come to pick a particular build for JDK 10, they would be offered the different flavors of OpenJDK with Hotspot, with OpenJ9, or with the SAP machine. That's kind of how we would handle it at the website end.
Cool. I think the website can already do that, because if it's doing OpenJ9 in addition to Hotspot, SAP JDK would be another variant just there.
Exactly. Yeah.
Sure. So cool. All right. So I've added a link for pending points for previous meetings. We don't need to go through that just now. It's for posterity and also later read. I'm conscious of time, so I'm going to quickly skim through this and see which topics are worth talking about now and which topics we can stall for next time or do it offline. So we've got tags, conversation on tags. Then we've got some infrastructure related couple of topics. And we need some testing updates as well, right? Should we, Tim, if you don't mind, should we jump to testing activities and get some feedback from Shelly and her team? And then we jump back to the other two pending topics. That way we know we've covered.
Yeah, definitely, because as soon as we can get those testing channels all the way driven through, then we have a full end-to-end story. So I'm very keen to hear.
Yes, that's why I kind of sure. I actually also misspelled the name of the contributor under the infrastructure build. If someone can correct that. Okay, so cool. Thanks, George. So Shelly, over to you. Do you want to give us an update on testing and fill us up on all the JCK activities your team's doing?
Well, I would say Stuart probably is the better person to update on the JCK work that's happening. He's been putting a lot of effort into getting that going. So Stuart, would you want to talk about the JCKs?
Yeah, we've got it running at least on all the Linuxes, OS X as well, and Windows in some fashion or another. Windows, I'm having a little bit of trouble getting a suitable display that it will run on consistently. I think most of the issues we've had with the JCK are AWT related. And I know Simon and Govind have been talking about those. X-Linux is probably looking about the best of them. There's a few extra AWT errors showing up on a couple of the other Linuxes just now. OS X, we need a bit more machine setup to try and get, a display is causing us a problem, which is stopping all of the graphical tests failing at the moment. I know George and I had a look at that at one point. We never quite got that to completion, but we need to push that forward a bit. So that's kind of where we are at the moment. I don't know, Simon, do you want to talk about some of the specifics that you've been working on?
I'll talk off mute now. Yes, so we do need, in the light of getting these production-ready builds, we do need a way through our various JSDK problems, since none of them particularly indicate a problem with the Java implementation. So I've been talking to Govind. I'm about to send him a patch for a test case, which works for me, as they say. But it may be we'll continue having a conversation with Govin, but it may be that we need to run different parts of the JDK on different machine configurations just to try and get a clean result. So I think we'll have to keep pressing on with all these environments and working through all the different failures on the different environments to see if we can't come up with some strategy that makes it a lot easier to run the JDK. Ideally, we'd have a button we press and it runs it and it says, yes, it works. I think we need to keep focusing on that go.
Yeah.
I'm not sure what our options are for a released version, though, since we're focusing on JDK 8 here. So I'll talk to Govin offline about that, but I guess our options are change tests, which I'm sure he's reluctant to do, possibly exclude things, or it may be that we can come to an agreement that having a known failures list or something for the purpose of what we're doing here is good enough from a certification point of view. But I think we'll need to keep talking about that in the background, if you don't mind, Govin.
Yes, Simon. So, yeah. So, as you told that, so as Simon told that, so we are exchanging some information between us, and then how it work. So yeah. So I am right now. So I am trying to figure that out. So in which environment? So I can try to reproduce that. Hello.
Yes, I can hear you.
Yeah. So yeah, so as Simon told that, so I'm trying to reproduce on my own machine. So if that is a case, or it's some failure due to some synchronization of two different events, so I'll try to take it to the further level, so to check with the JCK dev team regarding that, whether we can explode or not. So yeah, I'll yeah, I agree.
So the question is, with the tests that we're seeing at the moment, which are not passing cleanly,
Yeah.
are we still comfortable in declaring that runtime is JCK compatible? Or do we need to do more work?
Actually, speaking to as per our JCK agreement, so we need to make sure all the tests to pass. So then only we can claim that it's a conformance.
Okay.
That is a general rule. So if there are some specific case, something like AWT or something, would be a valid workaround, then only we can proceed. So otherwise we cannot.
Yeah, because I think the situation we're in at the moment is that we're seeing the same failures on Oracle build as we see on the AdoptOpenJDK build. And so we don't think there's a significant difference in the binaries. It seems to be an issue with the tests. So I just want to make sure that you have enough time to be comfortable that we don't see that as being a major issue. And as soon as we get there, ideally the tests will be fixed and we can declare completely green across the board. But if not, that we're happy enough to proceed with the results that we're getting.
Actually, Govin, on this topic, one thing I don't think we've tried is for you to take the builds that we are actually producing at Adopt and run them on your Ubuntu setup where these tests pass. That would be a useful data point, I think.
Yeah, sure. So yeah, you just share me the build, everything, so that I'll try here. Yeah.
Yes, I'll do that.
Yeah.
And just to tie it back to the previous discussion, Simon, I assume that build that we are pushing through the JCK is the one that has been tagged as a release by the OpenJDK project, right?
I'm not sure exactly what Stuart's been running recently. We've been kind of selfishly focused a bit here on getting the OpenJ9 one ready. So I'll have to revisit exactly which OpenJDK one we've run with Stuart.
Yeah,
and indeed check that we have built that.
Yeah, it's the one that's on the front of the website, so the one that's listed as a release. I've occasionally used the nightly builds as well.
Yeah, I'm not sure that the release that's tagged on the AdoptOpenJDK website is necessarily aligned with the build which is released by OpenJDK/Oracle. So let's check that so that we're at least testing the same thing.
So, Tim, if I may, that might be lightly related to our tagging that's not going correct or is going differently than, or.
Yeah, I mean, George, you may know, because you're kind of the release manager at Adopt. You know, what was the criteria by which something became a release Adopt?
There was nothing that made it there was no criteria really. It was
Right.
as a tag, we basically cut it as a new release.
Okay, so that's my point really. So let's go back and tidy that up so that it's at a stable point of code from the OpenJDK project. Then we'll know that it's expected to, you know, coincide with the release from Oracle.
And to bring this all back around to the JCKs, I do have the remote trigger builds ready, but I haven't tied them into the work that Stuart has been doing to trigger off the run of the JCKs, because I was waiting to find out if they were healthy enough to try that. So upon a successful release build, we can trigger those builds at the other Jenkins instance.
All right.
And in fact, we could trigger a subset of the JCKs if it is decided that we want to break them out into groups and run them in different environment configurations.
So Marnie, I think the action here is that we do a dry run of our release process where we create an issue, we identify the code tag in OpenJDK that we're going to release, and that we put it through all the various steps of testing, including JCK, all the way through to the website. And that should start to flush out some of this. It probably won't be successful first time through the process, but at least it'll get us used to working that way.
So basically outline an end-to-end process. Yep. And what are we going to compare that with to make sure that it's correct with the Oracle JDK or?
So if we go, I guess we need to know which binaries are produced by OpenJDK, but yes, if it's comparable with the Oracle ones, we can take that. So whatever the latest 8 update releases, because I guess there is one from. Is there one from OpenJDK? I can't remember what the status of that is. I'd have to have a look, and we'll see what we can compare it with.
Sure. Yeah, because obviously we are probably maybe out of sync in at least one or more places that might be making our binaries different.
Right.
I mean, the tagging is one that has been identified, and I think someone already discussed this on a Git issue. Suddenly a Git tagging has gone missing, and that's known, and we know why it's gone missing is because we don't when we clone a repo, when we build it, we don't do we eliminate the history. We just get a flat version, and that kind of it's a shallow clone, and that kind of removes the tagging information. But then again, if you have the tagging information, is that tag in sync with the Oracle JDK tag or the proper OpenJDK tag? That's the other one where Yiri's script came into play, and I was setting up a Jenkins job to do that. So I kind of have an idea on how to do that, but I think I need to first clear up all the other things. Again, it's something we need to experiment and compare and then come to a consensus and then say, okay, we're going to use this. Okay, so does that kind of give us an idea of what's happening in JCK? There's quite a bit, and I hope some of these are captured in Git issues, and some of us are pulled into it. Like, of course, I've been told that once I enter JCK, I cannot leave it. So I'm gonna stay in the boundaries and help you from outside. But please do record these in the GitHub issues section. So for posterity reason, at least we can look at these things, or some people can jump into the issues. Is there anything on the testing general area outside the JCK testing? Shelley, is there anything or are you focusing, all of you have been focusing on JCK testing?
No, we've also been working on adding support to get the testing running against Java 10. I have a final pull request that I'll put in today so that we can be able to run against Java 10, and I'll be setting up a test build for the SAP Java 10 Linux x86 build. When that's ready, we'll be able to enable the testing there. Munir has messaged me. Sorry, Munir, I hadn't replied. We do have some open issues in tests still that should be prioritized as high so that we can. Our goal with the set of issues we have is to get us down to having the same problems that are known against the Oracle issues list. So we still have additional problems, mostly I think in terms of setup and or machine configuration that we're working through. So the one example that is high on our list to address will be the AWT tests in the JDK regression suite. Those are currently off because we need to get the X11 server plugin and get those running properly again. I had left that because some other person who, Jose, I think, had worked on that, gave us the suggestion. I was hoping he would be coming back and finishing that work, but I haven't seen any activity there, so I guess we'll pick that up.
Okay, so these are like known issues, and some of it you're already working on to circumvent that. So, and then your goal is to bring that known issues to the level of the Oracle JDK known issues. So then you know that you're in par with the tests are in par, and then of course, if you fix the one on Oracle JDK, hopefully those will be the same fixes for OpenJDK as well.
Yeah. So we have been making good progress. I think we've closed somewhere in the region of 10 or 11 issues over the last few weeks. But we have to still continue to work through the list. We do have, you may have noticed, we have added a lot of system tests. I think they're recently they had been hanging. George had mentioned that he had to restart Jenkins. I believe the actual thing that happened was there was a Jenkins restart on Friday that when it restarts, it tries to rerun testing or reestablish the testing or the jobs that were partially or had already been started. That put the system tests in a very bad state, and so they hung. We've added a timeout so that they won't hang again and force another Jenkins restart. There may be a Jenkins setting where we can have it not try to restart the jobs. I think we would like that for the tests. I think the Mauve tests that are in that group end up in a very weird state. So I'll look at that as well. I haven't created an issue yet. But you will likely see a lot of heavy usage of the test machines at the moment because there's just a lot more tests running.
Mm-hmm. I like the sound of that. I wish we had the same spirit in the build and infrastructure groups.
Yeah, give us some of your machines.
You're free to take them. I don't think even George is going to come in front of you, but but you can have them because we are not using them fully as much as we would like to.
Yeah, we have an infrastructure issue open to get a S390 machine for test. We don't have any regression tests or system tests running on that platform because we don't have a machine.
So you need an S390X machine?
Yeah, although I understand that's wasn't going to be easy to get.
Oh, really? Can Tim answer that? George is gone, I think.
Was that Linux or ZOS you're talking about there?
S390X, which one are you talking, Linux or?
Yeah, Linux.
Yeah, I thought we'd requested those already, so let me chase that up and find out. In principle, it should be just requesting more images from Marist College. So I'll take that as an action.
Sure. Thanks, Tim. I'll put that as the action point there. Cool. We've got 4 more minutes. Do we need?
Yeah, Mani, I just want to update about one of the issue which you mentioned, that lib-free type. Actually, I found that issue. I found that issue during the analysis of some regression test failures. So that is really a build issue. It is, so I am not working anything more working on that. I just raised the concern. So I think somebody from build team has to look into that and resolve. And a good amount of tests are failing because of the same reason.
I see. It's indirectly it's linked to me looking at it, but I will, and it is on my watch list, so I am going to look at it. I know I've added this as an action point from previous time, but I didn't just get a chance because just now I'm also trying to get the roots of the repositories corrected. So as soon as I'm out of that, I will look into this.
Then on some more updates that from regression, we are almost reaching near to the whatever the Oracle JDK have the same result. We are almost reaching near to that one. Apart from this issue, and then whatever Shelly was told, that X11 display issue. So that X11 display issue, it is just a machine configuration or the display related. I mean, it is not something related to build. It is a test setup issue. So if you resolve these two, we are almost near to the Oracle JDK.
Okay, so we have
again
setup issue.
Some more,
I'll look at that at 11.1 this week, Munir. Thanks.
Yeah.
Thanks for pointing it out.
Then we will be having some minor here and there. Yeah, we are almost near to the Oracle JDK there.
Okay, that's very good news. I've made a note of it. So apart from the test setup issue, which some of you are looking at, and this build issue, the lib-free type, which is a build issue, you are closer to the Oracle JDK results. And you're aware that you might have some minor issues, but that's okay.
Yeah.
Okay, that's very promising news. I will do my best to try to come up with a solution for this. I need to first find out how that path is getting embedded into the build, which it shouldn't. It could even be down to the build script incorrectly using the path, but I have to conclude that with evidence. Okay, 2 more minutes. I think we should wind up now unless somebody wants to go for another 15-20 minutes. I don't know if you guys have meetings and other things to do. I'm happy to stay a bit longer, but I'm conscious of your time as well. I know we haven't.
Sorry, I do have one question, Simon, here before we go. We mentioned earlier raising a couple of issues about the production-ready builds. Which of the many repositories would you like those issues raising in? The OpenJDK build one? I would hate for them not to be noticed.
Is it testing related or is it build or infrastructure related?
One is build, to build the right things, and the other is related to the web page with the downloads to tag them as being JDK compliant.
So if I'm not mistaken, the OpenJDK build one goes to OpenJDK/build, -build.
Okay.
I will paste the links to your questions in the question answer section. I have a question answer section here. So if I'm wrong, then someone will correct me about. I think there's also a website repo, OpenJDK-website, and there's a build repo that's OpenJDK-build. To start with, you can create your issues there, and in case they are not the right place, then someone from the repo will come back and tell you.
I'll put one in each.
Yeah, so I've posted the names of the repo, but I'm going to give you the exact address. It's github.com/AdoptOpenJDK/. So if you look all the way at the bottom of the Google Doc.
Yes, I've got the list of repositories in front of me, so I'll find it.
Yeah, so I think the namings are as good as it is. I think Stuart had a proposal of renaming them. I'm not sure if that has happened, but for now, the names are.
It wasn't so much renaming them; it was just adding comments and stuff to them, so it should be okay.
Okay, I see. Oh, you mean descriptions and stuff like that.
So I do have a hard stop now, I'm afraid. I'm going to have to drop from the call, but I just wanted to, before I disappear, say thank you to everybody. I think we're making some fantastic progress. And the sorts of issues that we're talking about now are really, finessing the foundational stuff that we're building upon. And so it's pretty encouraging to see the progress that's being made. And I just want to say thank you to everybody for all the effort that's gone into this. It's pretty exciting.
Cool. Thanks to you as well, Tim, for facilitating a lot of the things where we can't go and talk to people, but you've been telling people about things and making things happen as well and actioning points. Cool. So thanks to you as well.
All right. I'm dropping now, so I'll talk to you guys later. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Cool. Yeah, so I'll be ending the call soon as well. Thank you very much, everybody. In case you have any questions or any comments, please put them in the Google Doc. Please go through the Google Doc to see if we have noted the right points, because it's important to make sure that we've recorded correct things. Yeah, apart from that, let's meet the next time. Hopefully it's going to be in a week or two's time. Yep. Everybody have a good day. I'm ending this call now. Thanks a lot again for joining.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. See you. Bye-bye.